Need your daily fix on mixed martial arts?
We're going to kind of recap Bellator 155.
From UFC 198.
Who's who?
Kind of a controversial decision.
And who's not?
I couldn't figure out why, and then it hit me.
Well, don't you fret, because Golden State Media Concepts got you covered. Get your daily dose of MMA podcasts. Everything from the UFC, Bellator Fighting Championships, Extreme Cage Fighting, Invicta Fighting Championships, and so much more. Join us as we talk about some of the biggest names in mixed martial arts. We've got you covered here on Golden State Media Concepts MMA Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC MMA Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Arnel De Leon, and I wish you are doing fine for yourself. You're healthy, you, your friends, your family, you're all healthy during a time of uncertainty. Whether you live in the States or whether you live internationally, I hope everything's going well for you guys. And so, currently here, living in California, things are getting a little bit heated here, and I'm talking about the temperature more than anything else. People are increasingly getting sick and tired to this coronavirus pandemic issue, to the point that, yes, although we're supposed to be at a period of social distancing in the California area, a whole lot of people are still walking around Los Angeles, kind of half there. Me and my friends were talking about it, where like Los Angeles looked like the empty dead zone. San Francisco, even a lot more worse. Because like San Francisco is a lot more liberal than the Los Angeles area, but in the Southern California area, our beaches were packed. People are incredibly sick and tired of this whole social distancing thing, and so people are heading off to the beaches. We're kind of like the people of Florida. We're like, we don't care anymore. We need human interaction, and I miss human interaction incredibly. Oh man, I miss going to the gym more than anything else. But yeah, it's getting pretty difficult there. But the good news, though, is that states are planning to reopen up by May. Yes, like some areas are going to be closed off a wee bit. Like I know the San Francisco, Silicon Valley area, their chances are that place still might implement social distancing throughout the month of May and probably by the end of June. While a place like Los Angeles, the LA County, which is where I work at, they're planning to reopen up back at middle of May. So hopefully things are gonna get back to normal in about a month or two, and the UFC are pretty much gonna be back to normal by right after this pay-per-view here, because they have 3-4 events lined up for the month of May. They got multiple events lined up for May. Our first event here, the UFC event, which was, I still am not sure if it's still officially UFC 249 or a UFC on ESPN card. I'm not really sure about that. But according to Dana White, it is officially called a UFC 249 show. As it is reported by BloodyElbow.com, Dana White says that UFC 249 is probably the best card we've ever had. Dana White is mildly proud of the upcoming UFC events. He had an interview here with TMZ Sports where he's talking about, he's also hyped it up for the past month, where he's like, the card I'm making, even I don't know exactly what the card is, it's the most baddest card ever. And so from top to bottom, it probably is going to be one of like the most overall exciting cards because of the name value that is in the show. Yes, although we lost Felicia Spencer versus Amanda Nunes, the card overall is still really strong, with multiple fight of the year candidates here, or really fun fights. Really, a lot of heavy stakes here when it comes to the rankings. And although people make fun of rankings, that rankings don't actually matter, but there's a lot at stake in this card here. So we have Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje, and also this card is pretty controversial. There are people, MMA fighters have all touted a lot or have talked about this, where it's like, wait a minute, isn't it kind of weird that Khabib Nurmagomedov is not going to defend his belt, and there's going to be an interim title fight, even though Khabib... So let's say right now, let's just say social distancing and international travel gets back to normal within 2-3 months. Even if Khabib speculated that everything will be back to normal by September, still though, then where does it leave Tony Ferguson? Is Tony Ferguson going to fight Justin Gaethje, and then after that, just a short couple months, he's going to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov? I'm not really sure about that. I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Ferguson's like, you know what? I defeated Gaethje. I want Khabib next. There's a lot of risk to it, and a lot of people, including me, thought like it'd be the smarter idea if they just held off Ferguson versus Gaethje. But I guess the plan is that it'll be Ferguson versus Gaethje, and whoever wins that fight is going to immediately fight against Khabib. And I think Gaethje and Ferguson are the types of fighters who are willing to fight Khabib in just a couple months notice. So I can see that. But Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson, even though it's for the interim title, it really doesn't matter, honestly. This fight's going to be really fun. It really is. I don't know who's going to win this one. I am saying Tony Ferguson should win this because coming from like reading off his interviews and following with them on Instagram, it feels like Tony Ferguson's taking this fight a lot more seriously than Gaethje is. Also for the fact that I talked about this before, that Justin Gaethje has nothing to lose in this fight. If he fights against Ferguson and loses, then he always has the fallback idea that like, well, Gaethje only had like a couple weeks to prep up against the number one contender for the entire division. And then if he wins, it's like an upset victory because Justin Gaethje is coming into this fight as the underdog. So whatever happens, Gaethje pretty much he's in place to have a title fight within his next 2 fights after this. So Gaethje's pretty much in the safe zone here. And Tony Ferguson, he's risking a lot here. He doesn't have to fight against Gaethje. If he loses to Gaethje, then he has to fall behind Gaethje and fight against Khabib probably next year, or maybe 2 years from now, because Conor McGregor is always looming around the corner. It's going to be a fun fight, nonetheless, though. I expect it to be a lot more better than Ferguson vs. Pettis, to which that fight ended via doctor stoppage. It was sad to see that fight end via stoppage, because those two were going right at it, though, but Pettis had an injured hand, I think, and so he couldn't really continue pursuing the fight. So another fight that's very interesting here in the card, I think why Dana White's kind of excited about this, is the return of Dominick Cruz. And when Dana White was asked, why is Dominick Cruz fighting? I mean, he hasn't fought in pretty much 4 years. He hasn't fought in 4 years, and he's got a history of injuries that plagued Cruz's entire career. Yes, he's done this before, where he came back from a major injury, came back from a major surgery, and won the belt. This is the second time Dominick Cruz has done this, though. But Henry Cejudo's just way too good, in my opinion. I think we are seeing the best version of Henry Cejudo that we've ever seen, and then we're probably going to see the worst version of Dominick Cruz, and that's just enough for Cejudo to win this fight. How do I expect this fight going to end? If it goes 5 rounds, I see Dominick Cruz winning this fight. Strangely enough, I can see 5 rounds of Cruz winning and defeating Cejudo. But Cejudo, I think for the first 3 rounds, he's just going to go at it at Cruz for the very most part. And he's going to try to defeat Cruz within the first 3 rounds. And Cejudo can take on Cruz through all 5 rounds. So really, Cejudo, for the most part, is the overwhelming favorite in this fight. And I don't see how it can go any way here, nonetheless. So, in other words, Francis Ngannou versus Rozenstruik. Whatever your opinion is on Rozenstruik, so these 2 guys are these like big, gigantic heavyweights that you want to see like beat the heck out of each other. It's going to be like the most meatheady fight ever. It's not going to be a technical masterpiece, I can guarantee you that. It's not going to be pretty to watch. But it's going to be a really fun one. Ngannou versus Rozenstruik could either be the most boring fight of the entire card, or it could be an exciting, wow, what the heck? That exciting thing, when you're eating pizza with your friends, you watch the fight, someone knocks the other out with an uppercut or a haymaker, and then you just drop your pizza and you're in shock, like, oh my gosh, like, knocked out of the night. No doubt about it. I have a feeling that Ngannou vs. Rozenstruik can either be the most boring fight of the night, or it could end up being the knock of the night. It could be a really fun... Hopefully this fight doesn't go to the 3rd round. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm gonna. So it's been reported that Ngannou has developed into being less of a power hitter and more of a dynamic technical striker now. Like his boxing ability has improved substantially. That's coming in from Ngannou's training camp. That he's not always going for the power shot, trying to knock you out within the 1st round. He's trying to buy his time, and his coach noted Ngannou's ability to fight consistently through sparring in the gym, and is able to keep up. He's developing his cardio more than anything else. So we're gonna see how good Francis Ngannou's boxing and cardio is. He's gonna fight against Rozenstruik a lot more smarter, and if you were to do that and still knock him out, Ngannou is right there for another fight against Stipe Miocic. That's what I really believe. And we have got other great fights here more than anything else. Stevens versus Calvin Kattar. So, Jeremy Stevens, whether or not you like Jeremy Stevens, the fact that he hasn't really developed as a fighter in the past 10 years, him against Kattar are the best matchup against one another. Greg Hardy versus DeCastro, Cowboy Cerrone versus Anthony Pettis, Olenek versus Verdum, Carlos Esparza versus Michelle Watterson. I say Esparza versus Michelle Watterson could be a real dark horse for Fight of the Nights. I can really see it. Uriah Hall versus Jacare Souza, Nico Price versus Vicente Luque, Charlie Rosa versus Bryce Mitchell. This entire card is stupidly really fun, and I can't wait to watch it. So you listen to the GSMC MMA podcast, coming back right after the short break.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
So we are discussing UFC 249, and next week I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on the matchups. I'm going to look at all the fighters' most previous fights, and I'll see what they can work on, that they can go bring over to their upcoming fights in about 2 weeks' time. It's amazing that the UFC 249 event, after like a month of speculation, like, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? We're going to see that event happen finally, and I can't wait for it. It's going to be incredibly exciting. Speaking of excitement, though, oh man, this isn't really good, but Kevin Lee is set to undergo ACL injury and is out at least 6 months. This is coming in from ESPN. Kevin Lee likely won't be back in the octagon until the end of 2020 at the earliest. I expect Kevin Lee to come back probably 2021, really, or late 2021. That's what I believe. The UFC lightweight told ESPN that he has scheduled surgery to repair a torn left ACL on Thursday in Las Vegas. Lee said doctors told him he'd be out a minimum of 6 months, though he will try to push it and be back earlier. It used to mean being out a year, Lee said. They've gotten better with the technology and the physical therapy, so it might even be sooner. I don't really know. Lee said earlier this month on SiriusXM that it took him a while to get an MRI on his knee because of the whole coronavirus pandemic. He said he preferred not to say how the injury happened. Honestly, not even doing anything that was totally out of the ordinary, Lee said April 17 on the Luke Thomas Show. I mean, I'm not going to say specifically how it happened because of insurance, but it wasn't something totally out of the ordinary. I think I may have been affected by this whole virus and stuff more than I think. For some reason, I've been overly fatigued and my body isn't really feeling great. I zigged when I should have zagged and heard a pop pretty loud. Since then, I'm unable to move much. Lee was in the main event, and last time for the UFC, he fell to Charles Oliveira by the third round submission at UFC Brasilia in Empty Arena, March 14, Brazil. After that loss, his third fight, which was his third in 4 fights, to which he lost, Lee told ESPN's Ariel Helwani that he planned on taking a break from fighting. Now the knee injury will require that. I didn't mean like this, but the world works in mysterious ways, Lee said. At this point, it is what it is. I kind of wanted the break anyway. Now it seriously is forcing me to take it. Lee, who was 18-6, returned to lightweight from welterweight by knocking out Gregor Gillespie at UFC 244 last November. The Detroit native fought and lost to Tony Ferguson for an interim titleweight bout at UFC 216 in October 2017. Lee, 27, has been considered a potential breakout star in the 155-pound division. Yeah, Kevin Lee definitely has the potential. That's one thing you can never knock out about Kevin Lee here. You can knock him out, but he definitely has potential. He's only 27 years old, but he should be at his absolute peak, but he's taking a break already. He should be performing a lot more better. He was a top 5 ranked fighter at one point in the lightweight division, and now I think right now he's unranked. Because Charles Oliveira defeated him, thus I think pushing Kevin Lee out of the rankings in the lightweight division. He's still somewhat of a major name, but it's really sad to see where Kevin Lee has got to at 27. It's the reason why I'm and a lot of people in the MMA community are really tough on Kevin Lee is because the fact that Kevin Lee has so much potential. Because if you look at his Oliveira fight, that wasn't Oliveira. Oliveira had an amazing performance, by the way. Like, you couldn't game against that. You really couldn't. Charles Oliveira's striking ability was the best I've ever seen it. His grappling ability was the best I've ever seen. And Kevin Lee did the best he can against. Kevin Lee fought really well. He did his best against Charles Oliveira, but Oliveira was a little bit more better than him. That was true. Charles Oliveira, despite being like he's a lot lower in the rankings, Oliveira has all the skills to I really believe can take on people within the top 5 of the division. I can see Oliveira. I would love to see Charles Oliveira fight against Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think Oliveira's jiu-jitsu ability is good enough to go give Khabib a run for his money. So there's nothing to be disappointed or sad about Kevin Lee losing against Oliveira. The problem with Lee, though, is the fact that he has a tendency of being way too political than he really should be, and thus it's a huge turnoff for a lot of people. Because we want our fighters to be focused on people in the MMA community, we love it when our fighters are like weird, quirky, or wholesome. If you're weird, quirky, wholesome, or a great fighter. Or a great fighter who's in a significant winning streak. If you're none of those 4, then you're not really all that appealing. The fans gonna turn on you. That's why it is really, if you go on YouTube and type up Kevin Lee, there's a lot of people who make fun of Kevin Lee. I make fun of Kevin Lee. A lot of my friends and family who watch mixed martial arts make fun of Kevin Lee because he plays pro wrestling character like Colby Covington has a tendency of doing. He plays pro wrestling character and then he loses and then he drops out of character. That's the bothering part about it, because when Chael Sonnen and Ben Askren and Covington, even though they lose, at least they're committed to the bit that they're playing like WWE style pro wrestling. You're like, hey man, I'm the best of the world, even though I lose a lot. I'm the Muhammad Ali of this division, yeah, with their big fake belts. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But with Kevin Lee, though, it seems like he's half-heartedly there in trying to play a character, and so he sometimes tries to act like this big shot, I think I'm Muhammad Ali, kind of like huge inflated ego character. And then there's like him acting all humble and stuff. And it's really annoying because Ben Askren and Chael Sonnen were at the tail ends of their careers when they did all the pro wrestling promo stuff. And Colby Covington is a veteran, okay? It's not like he's this new, young, up-and-coming guy. The dude's a veteran, okay? So he's got years of experience behind him to kind of back up his, like, I think I'm the best kind of claims. Kevin Lee, though, he's only 27 years old. He's only a couple of years older than me. It's strange knowing that. And he's got this weird defeatist attitude about him after against Oliveira. The dude has lost so much confidence about himself that I understand why he'll take a break, though. It's disappointing he's taking a break at 27 when he should be fighting at 27 and competing against the best at 27. But it seems like that he peaked at the age of 25, which is really sad to think about. But he peaked at the age of 25, and then he's been dipping down. He's no longer even ranked. He had a torn ACL, a major injury. So even if he were to come back, he'd be back at 29 years old. So he'd be coming back at 29 years old, 2021. He's coming off an injury. He's lost his previous fights. His wrestling ability is good but not great, and his boxing and knockout ability is good but not great as well. And so there's just a lot of things about Kevin Lee you got to work on. Man, you want to cheer for the guy, but there's so many things going against him in his performances and how he acts outside of the octagon that it's difficult to empathize with the guy for the very most part here. So he's having surgery here. He's gonna be gone for 6 months. He said he's taking a break. I'm not. I just boil it down to him not enjoying the fight game as much anymore. We've seen many fighters do this all the time. The second they lose, or the second they're in the UFC and they're in the limelight within a certain amount of time, they become kind of dejected and just resilient to the idea of coming back to the octagon. It happened to Darren Till, happened to Rose Namajunas, happened to Tyron Woodley. It happened to Ben Askren. Ben Askren's 2 losses were so tough on him mentally that they did pretty much retired. And so Kevin Lee right now at 27 years old, I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Lee is you know what? I'm retiring. I don't need this, really. Sage Northcutt, good for him though. He's going through something very similar to Kevin Lee in the fact that he's going off some really bad losses. But at least having Sage Northcutt's you know what? I'm still go at it. I'm still positive. I think I can compete with the best. I don't think Northcutt can compete with the best, but at least he has confidence in himself. Unlike Kevin Lee, who when you hear him talk, he's either on the best or oh man, dude, I don't think I have what it takes anymore to even get in the octagon. I don't even enjoy fighting anymore. Kind of like what Tyron Woodley does, where he's I don't even enjoy fighting anymore. Yeah, I have all the physical tools to be the best, but I don't even enjoy it anymore. So I feel kind of sad for Kevin Lee, but at the same time, this is really what's best for him. I think this is the best thing Kevin Lee can do right now. Take a break, come back, and he's to climb himself back from unranked to low rank to high ranks, and probably get a title fight. Kevin Lee was expected by many to be a champion by now, but Kevin Lee still has a lot to work on. So coming back after the short break here, we'll be covering some more MMA news right here at the GSMC MMA Podcast.
I want to talk to you guys about this amazing product I've been using lately called Hydrant. If you're like me and you want to kick the coffee habit, but you're worried about your energy levels depleting, to avoid the morning sluggishness and that midday slump, you need to make sure you're hydrated. It's super important. And that's where I've been using Hydrant. And for 25% off your first order, you can go to drinkhydrant.com and enter promo code GSMC at checkout. Hydrant is basically flavored electrolyte packets you mix directly into your water to make hydrating your body easy and delicious. And what I love about Hydrant, it's backed by research. The formula was developed by Oxford scientists to provide perfectly balanced, efficient hydration. Again, that's drinkhydrant.com and enter promo code GSMC for 25% off your first order. Another really cool thing about Hydrant, there's no synthetic colors or artificial sweeteners. The formula is vegan and you can choose between 3 different flavors or a variety pack. So for all my vegan friendly fellows out there, this one's for you. Again, this is drinkhydrant.com and enter promo code GSMC.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Regarding the May 9 show, scheduled for UFC 249 and take place in Jacksonville, Florida, Burns lobbied to fight Woodley on that card, only to be turned down again. Durinho insists that he has no issue with fighters giving him a reason why they can't just compete at any given time, but Woodley's handling the situation rubbed him a wrong way. I'm okay with guys declining fights, like Michael Chiesca. He's a guy that I respect a lot because he reached out to me. Hey, I want to fight you. Let's do it, he said. I'm not training, bro. No way I'm going to fight you right now. I don't have my training partners. And I'm like, okay, no problem. I got it. I understand. But the guy that lies to your face, hey, I'm fighting. I'm in killer mode. No, you're not. You pick and you choose fights. I lost all respect that I had for Tyron Woodley. I had a lot of respect for the guy. He used to be a champion, former champion. He had two title defenses that weren't fun at all. It was an ugly fight. But the way he beat Darren Till, the way he beat Robbie Lawler, come on, you've got to respect the guy. But then he lost. He just do one fight a year. If you take a look, he just fight one time a year. Then he lost, and after that, he's just not fighting anymore. Then come on, the guy comes and says, hey, please give me a title shot for my birthday. Come on, bro. After that, I was like, that guy's playing around. Give me a title for my birthday. That's crazy. I was like, no respect for this guy anymore. I'm done calling him out. I'm guessing Gilbert Burns is not the biggest fan of Dominic Cruz then, or GSP. So Burns now finds himself in the difficult position of being in the top 10 while struggling to book a fight with contenders ranked ahead of him. His first round TKO of two-time UFC title challenger Demian Maia and Brasilia only accentuated what a growing threat he is in the division. Demian Maia is in a downturn of his career right now. Coronavirus precautions haven't helped matters, as up until this week when the UFC announced 3 events for May. The majority of the roster has no idea what the schedule for the rest of the year will look. Whenever the UFC is able to return to a relatively normal schedule, Burns is open to staying business until the higher-ranked contenders decide to face him. I think it's going to get to a point where all the coronavirus need to be done, and I think if Wonderboy Stephen Thompson, Leon Edwards, Colby Covington, or Woodley don't give me an opportunity, I need to fight Chiesa. Let's say I beat Chiesa. Woodley and those guys keep stalling the division. I'm going to freaking fight Jeff Neal. Let's say I beat Jeff Neal. For sure, a lot of respect for these guys. I'm just putting out the best scenario. I beat these 2 guys, and then the other names have got to fight me after those. Burns has fought 4 times in the last 12 months and regularly uses social media to jump on short-notice opportunities. He's also recently become a meme factor. He admitted that it can be frustrating to see his efforts go to waste, especially when it comes to getting a fight with Woodley. Whatever comes next, Burns isn't going to let his spot in the rankings get in the way of a good fight, and he's even still inviting Woodley to come with him, which he thinks is the benefit of the chosen one given his veteran status. Maybe Tyron Woodley will fight, maybe not, Woodley said. I'm done calling this guy out. I am just going to. I think there's like a mistyping there. It said Woodley said. I think it was meant for Gilbert Burns. Maybe Tyron Woodley will fight, maybe not. Burns said, I'm done calling this guy out. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to beat everybody that they put in front of me. Eventually, I'm going to fight Tyron Woodley. I believe that we gonna fight, but I'm just done calling these guys out. If you want to fight, we'll fight. Leon Edwards, Wonderboy, I'm just going to give one big call out if any one of these top 5 guys want to fight. I'm available. If I need to go to the hard pad of beating the number 8, then the number 10, then the number 7, then I'm going to do it, and I'm going to keep doing it, and eventually I'm going to beat these guys. And it's harder for Woodley, because guess what? He just turned 38. If he keeps ducking everybody, one more year, 39, one more 40, okay, then I'll fight when you're 40. I don't mind. I'd rather fight you right now than fight you when you are 40. Then you'll go, oh, I was old. I was not in my prime. I'd rather fight these guys right now. So Gilbert Burns is one of many fighters complaining the fact that a lot of top contenders and a lot of champions, former champions and top contenders have the tendency of having favoritism go on the side, while fighters who are unranked or above the top 5 rankings or in the top 10s, if you're 5 through 10, it is really hard to crack the top 5. And because here's the thing, you really can't call shots. I know Gilbert Burns and many fighters have the weird tendency of overvaluing themselves versus how the UFC values them. So Tyron Woodley, fighters like Tyron Woodley, Colby Covington, like Kamaru Usman, Conor McGregor, when Ronda Rousey was champion, Chris Cyber when she was champion, like there was Johnny come nobodies who were fighting against Chris Cyborg when she was champion. And so that's the benefits for being a top fighter in the UFC. Top fighter in the sense of accolades and rankings and positioning. Gilbert Burns may believe... Okay, listen. Do I believe Gilbert Burns can defeat Tyron Woodley? Yes. I think Gilbert Burns has a chance against fighters like Colby Covington. Yes. Against Wonderboy Stephen Thompson. Yes. I think Gilbert Burns has the ability and skill to go and knock all of them out in the first round because I think he's that talented. But it doesn't matter what I believe. It doesn't matter what Gilbert Burns believes. It doesn't matter what his fan base or what his coaches believe how good Gilbert Burns is. All that matters is how Dana White and the rest of the UFC XX believe how good Gilbert Burns is, how marketable is guy. I'm going to be honest with you, Gilbert Burns isn't all that marketable. He really isn't. From a fan standpoint, I would love to see Gilbert Burns against Tyron Woodley. I'm easily going to watch that fight. But from a casual perspective, you see Gilbert Burns versus Tyron Woodley, you're going to be like, oh, Tyron Woodley. So he's that boring fighter, but he's a former champion. And then you got this one guy who I've never heard of. Like, what was Gilbert? I think Gilbert Burns, for the most part, has fought at UFC Fight Night events. So it's hard to really place Gilbert Burns in a certain high category. And Donald Cerrone has talked about this for a long time, actually. Donald Cerrone just recently, when it comes to in interviews, has talked about how he's made mistakes being part of the top 5 and choosing to fight people outside the top 5 rankings. So Cerrone himself has said, hey, I'm willing to fight anybody and everybody, and Cerrone himself says, I will continue to do that, but I admit it's not a good idea, nor is it the smartest idea to go fight people who are lower in the rankings for you, because you really don't have anything to gain. And for Gilbert Burns, realistically, what I see how Burns' career is going to go right now, he would have to fight the number 8, the number 10, the number 7 guy, and then number 5. He has to take the very long pathway to get there. It's taken a very long way. And unless you're really good at trash talking people, or your ability to knock out people is so good, or you look like a superstar. So it's either you have the trash talking ability of Conor McGregor, or the star power of Ronda Rousey, or the presence of Francis Ngannou. You have to be like a lot of these fighters, like Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic, who have to fight a long way. Like Miocic and Cormier and Charles Oliveira have gone through so much in their careers, have such a long history in their fight career, that for them to get to where they are right now, although Oliveira, he's low in the rankings, just like Gilbert Burns, all those fighters have to work really long and hard to get to a certain position. And for Gilbert Burns, sadly enough, dude, I don't think Burns is going to get a title fight or be within the top 5 rankings for the next 2 years. If I can be honest with you, Gilbert Burns, for as good as a fighter as he is, he's not going to get the favorable matchups that's going to get him within the top 5 in the next 2 years. And if he does fight Tyron Woodley, realistically, I see him fight Tyron Woodley when he is 40 or when he's 41. Because it just doesn't make sense for a top contender to go spend his time, focusing his time to fighting a person outside the top 5 when they can go make more money. No, more money here. UFC doesn't pay all that well. It really doesn't. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't pay that much well in terms of money. So, if you're top 5, you want to fight and stick within the top 5. If you want to take a risk and lower how much money you can make, then fight somebody out of the top 5. So for Gilbert Burns, maybe he'll reach the top 5 within the next 2 years, hopefully. You listen to the GSMC MMA podcast, coming back after the short break.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the show here. So we talked about Gilbert Burns wanting to fight someone in the top 5 rankings. Sadly, he can't do that, but there is some way that he can fight in the top 5 in a very peculiar way. Dana White announces a contest to raise money for charity. Winner will get to matchmake UFC fights. I'm just saying, okay, if Gilbert Burns can win this contest, maybe he can get himself a title fight. But it says here, this coming from MMA Junkie, want to be a UFC matchmaker. Now's your chance. Well, at least for one fight. Matchmake for one fight. The UFC, its president Dana White, and actress Halle Berry have teamed up for a raffle-style contest with 100% of proceeds going to 4 charities: Feeding America, Meals on Wheels, World Central Kitchen, and No Kid Hungry. By the way, putting out there, I'm just going to do a shout-out for Meals on Wheels. Please volunteer Meals on Wheels if you are sick and tired of staying at home. At least you're doing something positive to the community, to which they go give food out there to senior citizens and those who are struggling. So Meals on Wheels, if you want to do something to help the community, especially in the LA County area. In the LA County area, Meals on Wheels is in desperate need for volunteers. And yes, although you're not getting paid, hopefully after the coronavirus thing is over, then you'll have a representative from Meals on Wheels who can get you like a letter of recommendation or something that can help you. And also you get to brag, like, hey, while the coronavirus was happening, instead of me staying at home, I was out there actually giving food to the homeless or to senior citizens and doing my part in helping the community. So, Meals on Wheels, if you can, go out there, volunteer. I highly recommend it. But the winner will get a handful of prizes, including a UFC VIP experience, the opportunity to go to dinner with Halle Berry, and more. I would love to have a dinner with Dana White. I really do. Let's ask him like a bunch of questions, actually. But perhaps the most unique prize, however, is the opportunity to matchmake a UFC fight. In a recent interview with TMZ, White dished on the never-before-offered opportunity. So this is coming from the UFC's main YouTube sites. So to do this, you have to sign up to a site called allinchallenge.com. This is coming from Dana himself. So what happens if the winner wants to make an unpopular matchup? White said matchmaking isn't one person calling the shots. The winner will sit in on a meeting with the UFC brass where hopefully they can all agree. There's a process to the matchmaking, White said. What happens is there are 4 of us: Sean Shelby, Mickey Maynard, Hunter Campbell, and me. So it's not this thing where I walk in and go, we're doing this, that, and the other thing. It's a process, we argue. We fight. This ain't gonna happen. We can't do this. We can't do that. It's a long, drawn-out process that goes on. They'll be part of the bickering and the arguing, and we'll see where he comes out in the end and what he gets. So, you want to matchmake right now? Okay, go into allinchallenge.com. If you are an MMA fan like me, you definitely would like kind of troll a little bit here. What kind of fights would I like to see in the UFC? Personally, if I were to win this contest, I don't know if I'm going to sign up for it though, because I am not, it's not my job to be a booker. I'm not being paid as a booker. Okay, then I'm a reporter. All right, I don't do that stuff. So, but if I were to win this contest, if I were to sign up, I would easily book Charles Oliveira versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. I really believe Charles Oliveira, out of everyone else in the lightweight division, has the greatest chance of defeating Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think his striking ability is so quirky and dynamic, and so technically, and he has such a reach advantage over anyone else in the lightweight division, that Oliveira would be a very dangerous matchup against Khabib. Also, Oliveira's jiu-jitsu game, if you haven't seen Kevin Lee versus Charles Oliveira, and you are a jiu-jitsu practitioner, I highly recommend you watch that fight. It is great. So, I think Oliveira has all the skills and all the abilities and all the tools to go defeat Khabib. I think Charles Oliveira can beat Khabib in the striking exchanges. He's got a lot more reach, a lot more length, and also his jiu-jitsu game might be good enough to go and defend himself properly against Khabib. So if I were part of that that room there with Shelby and Dana White and Campbell, I'd be like, you know what, Charles Oliveira versus Khabib Nurmagomedov, that's the fight I want. And so, what other fight? Here's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of somebody kind of being trolly, and you go there and you present this weird random fight in the matchmaking thing. You'd be like, you know what I want? I want Logan Paul versus Halle Berry versus Dana White in a triple threat octagon match. Now, obviously, they're not going to sign off on that, but it's really funny. It really is. What's really sad also is that the UFC have turned off the comments for this video, which is weird because for other videos from the UFC they turn it on, but for this one it's like, hey man, we know there's gonna be a lot of fans out there who are gonna give really dumb ideas for the matchmaking thing. All right, yeah. Oh man, it's gonna be really strange. That's what I'm saying. You would have a VIP dinner with Halle Berry though. And to be honest with you, Halle Berry is really attractive looking and stuff, but I'm just not interested in talk. There's nothing I would want to talk to Halle Berry about, other than the fact that hey, Halle Berry, you want to watch Catwoman with me, and we could go make fun of it. That's the only thing I would ever ask from Halle Berry. There's nothing really else I'm interested about her that would make me I don't know, it'd just be kind of weird. Also, what I'm wondering, wait, I'll go type it in all in challenge. Oh, I've sent all in challenge. I'll see if I can. Maybe can you bring a friend? Can you bring a friend? Because that'll be honestly really great. Ah man, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure about this. Wait, allinchallenge.com. I put allinchallenge.com, and then all of a sudden Justin Bieber's name just came out of it. So okay. So currently so far for this challenge, $24 million have been raised. That's more money than all the UFC fighters got paid in the past year. Yeah, the past 2 years maybe. I don't know. All these top fighters only get paid 6 figures, so it's not really all that much. Enter to win fan experience starting at only $10. Bid on auction items and experience and blah. So okay, so this isn't just the UFC though. This is for other sweepstakes. This is where a lot of celebrities could go and create their own sweepstakes. You got Drake here. You got Kevin Hart, you got Kim Kardashian, who are all putting up sweepstakes that you can go interact with. It's but currently so far the amount raised right now is $24 million. So you go to allinchallenge.com, you go and type in Dana White UFC or Halle Berry, and then you'll see a thing here called Dana White and Halle Berry present the ultimate UFC experience. So $10 gets you 10 entries. $25 gets you 25 entries, $50 gives you 100 entries, and $100 will get you 200 entries. The description here is UFC President Dana White and Academy Award-winning actress Halle Berry are teaming up to present the most exclusive UFC experience beyond your wildest dreams. The duo is offering one lucky winner the chance to pick any Las Vegas UFC pay-per-view event on an all-expense-paid trip that includes once-in-a-lifetime experiences. Halle Berry's lifelong interest in combat sports came full circle with the movie Bruce, starring Valentina Shevchenko. In addition to being part of the UFC official ceremony weigh-ins, the fight night, the winner will be whisked away to a private dinner with Halle Berry and sit alongside her on a fight night. Once again, I kind of want to sit next to a fighter. I would love to sit next to I would love if there's a row full of all Team Alpha male members. I just want to be there. I just want to listen to them. I just want to listen to them be all cringy and weird. There's no better experience for the ultimate sports fan. This can't miss package. We'll enter now. You get the chance to go to Las Vegas. That seems really cool. Maximum 1,000 entries per person per sweepstake. So dang, you can. So one person could come out of this with 10,000 entries. Yikes. Dinner for the winner and one guest with Halle Berry. So you can go bring a girlfriend with Halle Berry so it's not all awkward and stuff. One dinner, you get to one guest, to a VIP experience, you get to attend a UFC event, private MMA session at a UFC. Wow, and you get to train. Whoa! You get to train with Forrest Griffin and Valentin Shevchenko. Oh my gosh! Here, I'm looking this down right now. Wow, there's a lot of prizes here. This really is a great thing for MMA fans. It really is. Yeah, I'm looking at this right now, but okay. So before I go to the break here, once again here, if you were to donate to the site, it's called All In. It's called the allinchallenge.com. Type up Dana White, Halle Berry, or the UFC in the search bar, and you'll be able to find this. Click on either of them, and this will lead you to a new page where you can go donate. Other than the fact that it's good, the money is going towards something. It's not just you spending your money on food or miscellaneous items that you don't need. You get to give it to something, which will then be used to help out Meals on Wheels, Feeding America, World Central Kitchen, and No Kid Hungry. You're listening to the GSMC MMA podcast, coming back right after the short break.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Hello and welcome back. So we're discussing here the All-In Challenge, a challenge to which if you were to join in, you will get the opportunity to. You're not actually gonna book a fight. You'll have the opportunity to throw out your own opinion in a room that includes Sean Shelby and Dana White, and then you get to discuss with the matchmakers what fight you like to see, and then you get to have a discussion about it. And so here are the details. A maximum of 1,000 entries per person per sweepstakes. And the maximum you can do here is $100 gets you 200 entries. And so I think the maximum you can do is probably 1,000. No. You get 10,000 entries. Yeah. So if you just wait. So I'm sorry, but I'm right now reading this right now. So the maximum here is 1,000 entries, which means you can pay up to $500 to get you 1,000 entries. So if you want to win this contest, if you really want to meet Dana White, if you really want to have a dinner with Halle Berry, by the way, she chose like the most unfitting picture in this. So on the right side of the screen, you'll see the words Dana White and Halle Berry present the ultimate UFC experience. Then it shows the description, details, and the money. And then to the left side of the screen, you'll see like Halle Berry wearing like a triple XL sweater jacket with this pink bandana and skinny jeans. It looks really unfitting, and she's like sitting in a white chair while in the background there's like bamboo trees. It's a very weird picture that she decided to choose on. All right, wait, let me just look through the rest of this. Oh, also Forrest Griffin, apparently. You get to interact with Forrest Griffin. So looking through all the deals here, you have a maximum of 1,000 entries. $500 will increase your chances. 100% of the money raised through this game/auction will go directly to Feeding America, Meals on Wheels, World Central Kitchen, and No Kid Hungry. Currently right now in Los Angeles, Meals on Wheels really wants volunteers. Dinner for the winner and one guest with Halle Berry in the post-ceremonial weigh-ins. So after the weigh-ins are over, you get to hang out with Halle Berry, have a dinner with her. I don't know where you guys are going to eat. It could be Carl's Jr. for all you know. But you and one person that you can bring along with are going to have a date with Halle Berry. Eligibility. Winner and one guest must be 21 years of age. Sadly, you can't be a 10-year-old kid who I want to see Conor McGregor versus Brock Lesnar. You can't do that. One private tour of the UFC headquarters and lunch for winner and one guest. Lunches? You know what they're probably going to give you? They're probably going to give you like a sandwich. They're going to give you like a box like turkey sandwich with cheese that's like half only. And then Dana White's going to like look at you and say, "Hi, what's up? Here's a sandwich." And he's going to walk away. One winner and one guest will win a UFC VIP experience to attend a UFC pay-per-view of their choice in Las Vegas. That would be great. So if you and your friend are huge fans, you can go there and you can see all the shenanigans. You get private MMA training session at the UFC Performance Institute with UFC Hall of Famer Forrest Griffin and UFC flyweight champion Valentina Shevchenko for the winner and one guest. Ah, man. Okay. So once again, oh man, I'm thinking already. Okay, so I got one friend who currently is a trainer, who currently is a boxing trainer. He doesn't do kicks all that often. He does kickboxing, but he mostly focuses on the boxing aspect. Like the gym that he runs is mostly boxing oriented than it is MMA oriented. And I go, oh man, this would be great. If I were to win this, I know who I'm bringing. You get a 3-night hotel stay at a 4-star hotel. Great. 2 round. Okay, I'm not. Okay, I've been to Las Vegas so many times to the point now that the mysticism behind Las Vegas doesn't bug me anymore. I felt when I was a lot more younger, when I was a kid, going to Las Vegas felt more like a drag more than anything else, because you really can't do anything unless you get older. But now that you are older, me going to Vegas like made me so cynical. The older I get, I just don't enjoy anything anymore about the area. Maybe because one time my niece, my family went to Las Vegas just recently. Actually, we went to Las Vegas, and then my niece, who's like 5 years old, I gotta watch over. I gotta take care of her. And then you see, those people in Las Vegas who dress up in really weird costumes, and they overcharge the heck out of you for money. Like you'll see some, there's some person out there who's dressed as SpongeBob. And then he's telling you to come to him so you can take a picture. And then after taking a picture with him, he's going to take off his huge SpongeBob costume. And inside is a scary looking man who's like 60 years old with a mustache. And then they're going to demand like $60 from you. like it is so sketchy in Vegas sometimes. And then he forcefully grabbed my 5-year-old niece on the wrist and started shoving her and started touching her all awkwardly. So that killed my mood for Las Vegas. And so it says, yeah, man, you get to stay in Las Vegas, you get to party. And I'm like, no, there's a lot of creepers out there, and one of them tried to abduct my niece. So no, I don't find Las Vegas to be the most fun place in the world. Maybe that's me being cynical more than anything else. But yeah, you get to stay in a 3-night hotel. I don't know which hotel it is. I've been to all of them already. 2 round-trip business class tickets to Las Vegas. I hate flying. Winner and one guest attend post-event press conference. Oh man, actually that'll be really fun. No. Actually, it won't. It depends on the fights. It depends on the press conference you're going to. Like, I'll love to go to like a Conor McGregor, a Nate Diaz, and a Dominic Cruz, and anyone from Team Alpha Male. Their press conferences are fun. They really are. Because it's just them being like weird, them being unintentionally wacky. And I love to hear that. Like, I love hearing Dominic Cruz like try. I like Dominic Cruz kind of come across as that really smart aleck kid at high school who thinks he knows everything and then gets knocked out. Like, that's how I feel Dominic Cruz is. Great fighter though, but I feel like he tries way too hard to be more methodical and intelligent than he should be. Winner and one guest gets to meet Dana White and the UFC athletes backstage post-ceremonial weigh-ins. So you get to go there, possibly not shake their hands because coronavirus is still an issue for the year of 2020. You get to meet Dana White then. He's going to smile at you. You get to have a selfie with Dana White then. You get to maybe get to record him, and maybe you can get him to do like his best lines ever. That's illegal. Hey man, Mazzagatti, man, he is the worst. Like, just have him say all the lines that you want Dana White to say. Winner and one guest will receive personalized UFC fight kits. Give me like a UFC belt replica. That'd be great, actually. Winner and one guest gets assigned UFC merchandise, including UFC gloves and fight poster for the event. Who would I... Dana White. Like, yeah, Dana White. I love him to sign my stuff. Him and Connor. No, man. You know what? I'll go to Uriah Faber and I'll ask him for an autograph, then walk the exact opposite direction. Disappointment. Winner and one guest gets guest to stand on stage with Dana White during ceremonial weigh-ins. I just get to be right next to Joe Rogan. Then he says like, next fighter here, Gilbert Burns. And everyone's like, yeah. And then he sees like El Hawani in the crowd, and as he shakes his head. Winner to receive one Bump Box Freestyle V3's Bluetooth boombox, courtesy of Trey the Truth. Alright. How much is a Okay, let me just wait. Give me a couple seconds here. Let me just check how much is this worth or how does it look like. I don't need a boombox. I'm too old school. All right, so you get a boombox in 2020, and these things are worth $600. All right, then I'm probably gonna sell it. If I were to get that prize, I would sell it. So me and my friend gets it. Oh no, you only get one. Oh man. Delivery timing, delivery time will be mutually agreed upon, blah, blah, blah. Sponsored by All In Challenge Foundation. So yeah, all these prizes look great. Yeah, if you're an MMA fan, man, or a UFC fan, this is definitely a must-have. Too bad during this time of coronavirus pandemic, though, you gotta save a lot, you gotta save more. And even though my friends are stupidly rich, there's no way they're gonna limit me $500 though, to be able to, attend the show. It would be really great. Oh man, because currently right now there are $25 million that have been raised, and in the video about $3 million. Okay, so 3 million. There's about I think 3 million views. So let's say right now, let's say 1 million people decide to go for this challenge, and then they all spend $100. The probability of you winning is very low, but the award is so great. Honestly, the best part about that prize is being able to train with Forrest Griffin. Being able to train with Forrest Griffin and me, Dana White, are the two biggest things. Meeting Halle Berry and getting a boombox in 2020, not for me. That's definitely not my prize that I would definitely go for, though. So coming back after the short break here, I'm going to go test your overall knowledge of MMA and the UFC. You're listening to the GSMC MMA podcast, coming back right after the short break.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
And we are back. So, you think you're an MMA fan, you think you're knowledgeable about the sport of mixed martial arts? Well, let's test it out here. This is coming in from funtrivia.com. We end all our shows through trivia so we can test out me and also your knowledge of mixed martial arts. So first question. I earned my nickname by defeating the first 4 Gracies I fought. Who am I? Easy. Kazushi Sakuraba. Though, one of those fights does come with an asterisk in the fact that Sakuraba, in order for Sakuraba to be able to fight against Royce Gracie, Sakuraba had to defeat Pat Miletich, who was training under Ken Shamrock's lines then. And in that fight, the fight was pretty much rigged for Sakuraba to win, even though Miletich decisively defeated Sakuraba. If you were to watch the actual fight between Sakuraba and Miletich, Miletich obviously won the fight. But because it was in Japan, and Sakuraba was a famous pro wrestler at the time, Pride was really pushing for Sakuraba to go win that tournament, and when Sakuraba was not winning the fight, they had the judges all score Sakuraba winning the fight. So it should be Pat Miletich versus Royce Gracie, but because that didn't happen, it became Sakuraba versus Royce Gracie. So he's known as a Gracie killer, but it comes with an asterisk. Though there were over 11,000 spectators at Las Vegas Mandalay Bay Event Center to see this fight live, most fans had to settle for pay-per-view from either their homes or, as in my case, their local sports bar. Unfortunately, the pay-per-view folks did not get to see 3 of the 9 fights contested that evening. Which of these martial artists was not a competitor in one of these untelevised preliminary bouts? So it is coming in from UFC 74. Respect. Clay Guida, Marcus Aurelio, Frank Mir, Mark Coleman. During UFC 74, which 3 fights were cut off? Which fight involved one fighter was not a competitor in one of these untelevised preliminary bouts? So by UFC 74, is it Clay Guida, Marcus Aurelio, Frank Mir, Mark Coleman? By UFC 74, I don't think Coleman was even active in the UFC. Yes, he's a UFC Hall of Famer, but he had kind of a comeback in the late 2000s. I don't think it was by 74. So the answer is indeed Mark Coleman. Mark Coleman, as longtime fans of the sport will know, is a UFC heavyweight champion and one of the sport's first competitors to utilize the wrestling-based ground and pound strategy. His reliance on takedowns, ground control, and scoring wins by battering his opponents into submission. Mir is another former champion, so it goes on towards each fighter here. And also, having suffered enormous setbacks in the octagon after injuries, blah blah, scored a submission victory over Dutch. Okay, so Mir did fight, Aurelio did fight, and Chloe Guida also fight. Mark Coleman wasn't around at UFC 74. He wasn't part of that event. So who was the Ultimate Fighter Season 1 light heavyweight winner? Easy, Forrest Griffin. Stephan Bonner did end up getting a contract. He was called an Ultimate Fighter, but he's not the winner. So Forrest Griffin technically was the winner of that event. They were both given contracts, so good for them. One of the best fights ever of all time. Not the most prettiest fight to watch, but still, it's a great fight if you want to. It's a great, wow fight, really. Who did Chuck Liddell defeat at UFC 62? At the early UFC 62, then? That would be Renato Babalu Sobral. Liddell won with a powerful kick on the head of Babalu, as he went for a takedown. So yeah, Renato Babalu Sobral. Yeah, Liddell has it's hard to differentiate early 2000s Chuck Liddell with late 90s Chuck Liddell. They're two very different fighters, but it's very strange how to judge Chuck Liddell as a fighter between late 90s and early 2000s. He went from a mediocre fighter to one of the best fighters ever from that short period of time. Really interesting. What fighter is known as the Count? Michael Bisping. Bisping is the grandson of a Polish count. Which fighter is known as the Maniac and Maniac, spelled with M-A-I-N-E? Oh, Tim Sylvia. If you haven't seen the short mini documentary that was released from the UFC's YouTube channel, I recommend you do. You get to see an insight onto Tim Sylvia and how he is now. Last time I was watching Tim Sylvia, he was incredibly overweight. It's sad that Tim Sylvia will be known as the heavyweight champion during a downtime for the heavyweight division, or during the downtime for the UFC, and that Randy Couture beating Tim Sylvia was the best thing to happen for the UFC. It really was, which is kind of sad for Tim Sylvia's career, being known as oh man, in order for the UFC to blossom and become successful, Tim Sylvia doesn't have to have the belt. And in the main event of Ultimate Fight Night 3, Tim Sylvia managed to survive through a tough decision against a fighter who made his UFC debut. Who was this fighter? The answer here was Osorio Silva. Although the decision was unanimous, Silva pressured him the entire fight and gave Tim Sylvia arguably his toughest fight to date, aside from his losses. Really fun fight. If you guys haven't seen it, I recommend you check it out, though. Once again, early UFC stuff isn't all the prettiest to watch, though, but it's very interesting to look. Who did Tito beat in his first match? So who did Tito Ortiz defeat in his very first match? And it was against Wes Alberton. So if you want to know, who did Tito Ortiz beat in his first ever fight in the UFC? It's Wes Alberton. Tito was the underdog of this fight, but won it at UFC 13. Who defended his light heavyweight title at UFC 66? If you look at UFC 66, which is early to mid UFC time frame, who was the most dominant light heavyweight at the time frame? Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell had an MMA record of 20-3 and had defended his title 7 times in a row. So who's the king of the 2000s, the 2000s era UFC light heavyweight division? Chuck Liddell. My first fight in the UFC was at UFC 12 Judgment Day against Teligman. It's all about these things used to have names. UFC 12 Judgment Day. UFC 249 Insurrection. Maybe it's UFC 249, the pandemic. That makes sense. I won that fight by TKO. Other wins in the UFC included Tank Abbott, Vanderlei Silva, and Randy Couture. Who am I? So who here fought at UFC 12 was a knockout artist, knocked out Tank Abbott, Vanderlei Silva, and Randy Couture. So it'll be light heavyweights. No, not heavyweight. Yeah, light heavyweights. That would then be Vitor Belfort. This would be Uber Belfort here. Has also fought multiple times in Pride. A few of the bigger name guys he fought included Dan Henderson, Alistair Overeem, and the Ultimate Fighter contestant, Season 1 contestant, Bobby Southworth. In UFC 52, who did George St. Pierre defeat by unanimous decision? Alright then, who was competing in the welterweight division that he would steamroll? He steamrolled a lot of people during his time as champion. I think he had 8 title defenses. I think he had 8 title defenses. So yeah, on April 16, 2005, George St. Pierre defeated Jason Mayhem Miller by unanimous decision at UFC 52, Couture vs. Liddell. George clearly dominated all over the octagon, but was unable to finish him before 3 rounds are up. Yeah, I don't know if GSP was champion at the time, though, because if it only went 3 rounds, though. But weird note there, though, is that not all UFC title fights had to go 5 rounds. There was a period in time that if you were the co-main event and it was a championship bout, it would only go 3 rounds. It was only implemented, recently, that if it was a main event fight or a co-main event, the only main event fights gets the 5-round stipulation. What was the subtitle for UFC 56? So, they should bring this back for UFC shows. Add some weird subtitle. What was the subtitle for UFC 56? The Quickening, The Revenge, The Return. It was Full Force. UFC 56 Full Force was a highly anticipated event that featured 2 championship fights. Alright. So, another thing here. UFC 55, the show right before UFC 56. So UFC 56 had Full Force. What was UFC 55? The Revenge, The Quickening, Wrong Turn 3, Wrong Way Again. UFC 55, Fury. UFC 54, The Damage. UFC 50, The Return of the Skywalker. They might as well do that. If Conor McGregor were to come back, it'd be UFC 254, Return of the Luck of the Leprechaun. It's so cringy. Ay. In what year did UFC officially become an organization? You all better know this. When did the UFC officially become an organization? That was 1993. A Brazilian form of mixed martial arts fight called Vale Tudo brought public attention to the sport. However, UFC draws from roots as deep as the original Olympic Games in Athens, Greece. UFC became recognized as an organization in 1993 and could have been bought by Shane McMahon from the WWE in 1997. So, no, it was 96 or 97. Either of those years. So yeah, UFC could have been a lot more different. It really could have been. But it became an official organization in 1993. And so that's it for the show. Hopefully you enjoyed the quiz here. And thank you for listening to the GSMC MMA podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'd like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps out. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, and have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts MMA Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.